Hi there, and welcome to Sage Advice, a web series where we interview the wise and the wonderful who have developed high levels of skills and expertise in their chosen fields. I'm Liana, an advisor for the Florence Belsky Charitable Foundation, and here at Sage Advice, we believe that each one teaches one. And today, I have the privilege of sitting down virtually with two very special guests, Ramin and Tara Violet Niami. We are thrilled to be talking with Tara Violet Niami and Ramin Niami and learn about their filmmaking father-daughter duo. In their latest endeavor, they created the film Eyes Without a Face, a thriller modern twist on Hitchcock's Rear Window. An agoraphobic man, Henry, hacks into a variety of women across LA, and everything spirals out of control when Henry suspects the woman to be a killer. And it'll be released on August 10th on all major streaming platforms. Would you guys like to tell us a little bit about your careers and what led you to creating Eyes Without a Face?
You can start.
Oh, and just so people don't get confused, it's Eye Without a Face because there's a French horror film called Eyes Without a Face, and you might get that if you Google search it.
Okay, so I'm so sorry about that.
Well, I went to film school in London, and my background was mainly documentary filmmaking, and then I moved to fiction, and that's all I've been doing. I still make sometimes documentaries. I like documentaries. I like to write my own scripts, although I'm open to other people's script, but I don't get a good one. So I write my own script and I produce them. So in a way, I like to have control over my film. And this was our first film together. And Tara was not just cinematographer, she contributed a lot to the film. We discussed the script and she was involved, she even has some songs in the film, and she was involved in art direction and clothes of the young women. So she came with, younger eyes towards the younger subject. That was our collaboration, and she can talk about herself.
Where do I start? My background is in photography. I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Photography at Pratt Institute in New York. And at Pratt, I took film and video classes. So I started making my own kind of experimental short films and doing still photography on film sets, starting with Ramin's films, but then other people, and learning from DPs. And I decided I wanted to become a cinematographer. So I went to graduate school at AFI and got my master's in cinematography. I still do photography, but I kind of, moved in my path into film. And yeah, this is the first film that I've shot with Ramin. We'd worked together in the past in other ways, but this is my first time being his cinematographer. So that was fun.
That's incredible. And kind of based on Alfred Hitchcock, what other inspiration did you take to create Eye Without a Face?
Yeah, well, Hitchcock and especially Rear Window is one of my favorite movies. And I don't know, I read about different stories about hackers and young hackers and also some disturbing things about what happened in Santa Barbara some years ago, the young man who killed 6 young women. So it was like technology is great, but also it can be really dangerous. And the more I read about hacking, I realized that in fact it's very easy to hack your computer, especially your camera. So that's why it came to me to make a film about it. So I was inspired by those films. And then we look at some other newer films that Tara can talk about that. And also there are other classics like Peeping Tom and Repulsion and all those things that they were, in a way, they're not just horror films, they're more psychological. And I was interested in films that it has a longer impact on you. Some movies are scary, but you jump and then you laugh and you forget next day. But some movies stays with you weeks later, you're still terrified or think about that character. And so those films appeals to me more. I mean, you know, and also I wanted as a director to challenge, see if I can really make an exciting thing in one location. I mean, there are other people who've done it. I mean, I really like Don't Breathe, for example. You know, that you are in a small space and can I create all that excitement? So it was an interesting challenge.
Yeah, in terms of visual inspiration, and then what Ramin is talking about, basically the film, he wanted to have a film that was from the point of view of this person who's watching people. And he's a complex character because, you know, you might like on paper condemn someone watching people, but, you know, it seems like he's coming from good intentions, or he seems like a real human and not some like bad guy. And so we're interested in films with complicated protagonists. An example of it's not super recent, but recent-ish film that I was inspired by, both for the main character and for the visuals, was Red Road by Andrea Arnold. She did American Honey with Sasha Lane, which made Sasha Lane a big actress and stuff. And it was her first film, and it's about a security camera officer person who starts watching someone from her past on the screens that she works at. So I looked a lot at that for visuals of her watching and the images on the screen. How do I make that feel creepy? And then Don't Breathe is really suspenseful, and it takes place basically in one house in real time. This takes place over, you know, different days and whatever, but it is just in that one house. So we looked at a bunch of stuff like that, and 70s horror more for like the lighting and compositions than the violence, because it's not actually that gory of a film. It's more, like Ramin said, psychological.
Yeah, absolutely suspenseful, where you love to hate the main character. Oh yeah, cool. So what are some failures or obstacles that you had faced while filming or during the production of Eyes or Eye Without a Face?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're making any kind of film, you always have some problem. I mean, one thing there were challenges. Obviously, it's like how to make a set, what to do. One thing is that I mean, people don't like to rent their space to you, and then you do what we did to the set, creating that kind of set, you know. So. And if we wanted to create that in soundstage, we thought we need a lot more money. So we had to shoot it at home and send the family to Airbnb and turn the whole place upside down. So that was one thing. It's always a lack of money. I mean, we always are making under budget movies. So you have to be very careful to plan everything, storyboard it, you know. Pre-planning was very, very important. And obviously also for Tara, you know, filming in small space, you know, where to put the camera, because we are in a room, and you know, it was tough to shoot in a small space for everybody. So that was the production. Production wasn't much, you know, it was. In fact, it went very well. It was afterwards that was problem, which was because of the COVID. And the plan was with the distributor to show it last year in Cannes, in the market, and they did all the booking of theaters to show and inviting everybody, and it got canceled. And then we came into kind of disagreement where we should go after that, because the person who was selling it did not believe in festivals that are online. And so anyway, I'm just saying all kinds of things happen, partly because it was not under our control. Let's put it this way, that we, you know, so we had to restart.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey, but it shouldn't have been if it was. I think I can't complain because people have a lot more problem than me. But obviously, COVID hurt, you know, delayed everything and created pressure. But now it's coming out. So
I'd say on my end, I don't I think like Ramin, I don't think we have like failures to do with the film so much as we had obstacles. But yeah, I mean, as a cinematographer, this was both my first feature film as a cinematographer, shooting a film mostly set in one location, making it interesting, showing someone watching a screen and images on a screen for a lot of the movie, which is very hard. So I looked at, in addition to Red Road, even Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Social Network, a lot of movies where people are looking at computers. But then also, it's an indie film, so limited budget and resources in terms of lighting. I can't get the size of the movie lights for some of these network shows or giant horror films. So how can I come up with something that is practical, but also visually interesting? So we opted for a stylized look, that color and shadows and stuff are more expressive and not just about naturalism. But yeah, so I had a really hardworking crew who just did an amazing job in terms of in lighting and, camera and whatever. So I feel really grateful. I think we all got closer. When you're making an indie film, like the cast and crew get close by the end. So we all became very close.
No, it was, that part, everything went very well. As Tara said, there were some challenges. One of the interesting things was I did not want the actors to act against green screen. So they were actually watching, they were seeing the events for the first time and reacting to it. So that was challenges, like to shoot all those material and then how to shoot it. In fact, I wish you see it on big screen one day, because you will see about in their eyes, you can actually see the reflection of what they see. So also for Tara, it's like how to shoot that we can capture that, and the face and the eyes and all of that. So, there are some technical things in small space, but we did it, and we had a great set, and Tara did a great job. And then we were lucky later to have a fantastic composer, Charlie Klauser, who did all the sound movies. He did the score. So we are lucky to have somebody in that level. And then our sound department, the guys who work on it, for friends, they are working movies that has won Academy Award. So, it was a
And I had a great colorist who works at like a top color house that, they do, this guy works on a lot of commercials and shows and stuff. And it was an Encore Deluxe that does like American Horror Story and all this stuff. So we had, we were going for high production value with talented people on a small scale. And we were very lucky. And the person who designed the set, Bryce Perrin, did an incredible job in creating this agoraphobic character's chaotic space. And the amount of stuff in the space is part of what made it very hard to shoot in, but also what makes it visually interesting. But it's hard to figure out, where can I put the camera? Where can I fit the camera in between all this stuff? And and like Ramin said, we did shoot, basically the main location was our house, which is a great location, honestly. It's an older house and has a lot of character, but also part of the reason we did it was because we could do whatever we wanted to it. So we could paint the walls dark, which we did, and, mess with things. And if we rented a location, they wouldn't have let us do that, the majority of them. And most houses in LA have white walls, and we wanted it to be creepy looking. So we painted the walls dark.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Wow, how incredible. And yeah, you kind of lead me into like my next question, where what did you learn this is your debut as director of film, director of cinematography. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what you learned and what you'll kind of move forward with?
I think first of all, it affirmed my belief that pre-production is so important. I was so lucky to have so much pre-production time with Ramin here to look at movies and shot lists and stuff, something that is really a privilege compared to some projects I work on where there is like a week to prepare for, the short or whatever. But the level of planning that we did, of shot listing and preparing and figuring out the lighting and stuff prior, really helped us on set because we knew what Ramin wanted to get. And then it allowed the actors to just act and to do different takes for the performance, but we weren't always like, wait, what's the next shot? Where do we put the camera? What do I do for lighting? Because we had kind of an overall idea. So I think it just kind of made me realize how important that is. And going into my next feature films, like as much as I can plan with the filmmaker ahead of time, it gives us more creative freedom on set. Because then we came up with some shots when we were then and there. Like one of my favorite shots in the film, the one of Henry's eye through the magnifying glass. Ramin was like looking at the set, and we were talking about, okay, we want to do this creepy shot. It's in the trailer, his eye, and that was in camera, like me close with a long lens on his eye through this glass. But we'd, done the shots of the day, and we were looking for what's an interesting shot that relates to the whole plot of the movie. And he was like, what if we put the camera there? But I think we were able to come up with new ideas because we had so much planning and we knew the story so well. So that's something that I found like so crucial. Know the story, know the characters, plan the shots.
Oh, absolutely. What was your favorite part about filming for both of you guys?
You can go.
No, I mean, it's always favorite part is actually when you start filming, because before that it takes you, months and years to get there. And when you start it and when you think everything's going smooth, sure, I've been in productions that, there are problems. And also as a director, in fact, Hitchcock said the most important job of the director is casting. So when the first day and you work with your actors and you think, oh, I did it right. These guys are really great. And I love the chemistry between the two guys in the film, played by Dakota and Luke. And you say, wow. Then it's really the fun part, because you have your great actors, there's a good chemistry, they are good guys, they're very easy to work with, so everything is going. I mean, it can't be better than that. It was really fun. I mean, then, of course, when the whole thing is finished, it's even more fun when you're editing, because there is no more headache or worried about it's going to rain or something goes wrong or whatever. So I like also post-production because it's you're editing, you're creating something. Every stage is it's pleasure. I mean, that's why we do it, because filmmaking is a tough job. So if you don't get pleasure from it, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, it was so exciting being on set and seeing these characters come to life. Luke and Dakota became friends like immediately. And they just really felt like, oh, these are two people who could actually be roommates. And their energy on set was just really great to work with. And for me, I was the main camera operator. Not all cinematographers operate the camera, but I come from a photo background and I'm used to being behind the camera. So I like to be the one holding it and stuff. But I had to be literally up in Dakota's face like all the time, because as the film goes on, the lenses get wider and wider. And so the camera is closer to him, but more distorted. And so often it would just be me and him when we were rolling. Ramin would be around the corner, calling action and checking on things, but it was just me and him. So he also had space to act and like emotionally process things. And he was so easy to work with. I'm like, sorry, the camera's going to be right next to your shoulder right now or next to your eye. Is this okay? Because it was important to show his perspective. So I was literally like up close and personal. But yeah, I agree. Also, post-production was so exciting. When I saw the film with Charlie Closser's score, I was so excited. I felt like, wow, my images got so much scarier because this music is so creepy. And it felt like it really added so much that was there, but like on another, in a different layer. And same with the color. I think that color grading is like painting. So you're bringing out aspects of, what you shot and, making the oranges more vibrant or whatever. And so it felt like we were painting the image, and that was so cool. So,
well, there are, when you make a film like this, I mean, when you have a small budget, there are still all kind of issues, and you have to help your actors. I mean, one of the things that we then talk is that and I want to bring it up, is, we have probably 40% of our crew were women. So that was important because we have 6 young, attractive women actresses in it. So, so it felt more like a family, and having, I think, a lot of women crew helps that. So it's not just guys, older guys with younger women make a movie, it's so everything, but that helps all the performances. That helps the ambiance of the film, the relationship. And my sets are always, I've been to sets that directors always shout and scream. My film is very different, it's very quiet. So, and that helps the actors to concentrate. So all of that makes it, I think, fun for everybody. After all, we do this for fun because there are other jobs we can do and we can make a lot more money.
It was a lot of fun filming. And, the times that we would take like breaks of let's have fun was like lunchtime, eating lunch and making jokes and that sort of thing. And then we'd go back to work. And yeah, it's really funny because we filmed before COVID, but in a way we almost filmed similar to like how people are filming during COVID because our crew was small and sort of distance. And there was just like, even we're sensitive about people feeling well, or like one day someone wasn't feeling well, we ended early. We never worked overtime. We met every day basically on time. Maybe there was one time we went a little late, but it was important that everyone be treated well. And I think that's why people feel good about having been part of this film. And yeah, Ramin is right in terms of the women on set. I mean, the 2 camera operators were me and another woman, Alicia, and she was one of the 2 gaffers. And we had a number of women in art department who gave a lot of feedback on like the art direction and costumes for the women. So it felt like important to have different perspectives, and it made everyone feel more comfortable, especially one of the actresses who plays a cam girl being like in her underwear. She's very confident about that stuff. She's a model and stuff, but still, makes them feel like they're in a safe space when a woman is behind the camera and there are other women around and it's not just a bunch of men, which is most film sets.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's incredible. You guys sound like you created such a safe and creative environment. Oh, so what's to come now? Since you guys have started working together, you're going to be working together on Ramin's next feature film, right?
Well, I hope so. I mean, if I can afford it, because now she has an agent and all those things, so I have to see. But yes, I mean, we are. I mean, Tara always has. I always like a feedback from her when I write a script. I can't say always because before that she was very young, but the last few years, I like every time I write something, I like to have an input from her. And I can tell you honestly that I did not ask her to shoot the film because she's my daughter. She's fabulous as DP. And one thing she then said, I mean, Tara is she started photography when she was very young and she won major awards in photography. So she has, I really believe she's an exceptional talent. So I'll be more than happy to work with her. And also it has to be, I mean, most projects that I'm involved with, something that it appeals to her. But if it's something that it's not, or if I'm producing sometimes for other people, she may not think this is something that she connects to the material. So it's obviously, it's her choice. But we do have a couple of projects that we are developing together.
Yeah, and also Ramin's films, even though this one is about a male voyeur, which I personally think is super interesting. And there's a purpose to why it's about that and why I shot it, which is like women can, film the male gaze or like talk about that stuff because it is present. But is that Ramin's projects are generally very female centric. They have like quite interesting female characters, and his future ones are very much like the protagonists are women, and I'm very interested in female-driven projects in general. I've mostly worked with female filmmakers, with Ramin as an exception and a few others. But it's more just like, I like to be connected to the material and the characters, and I'm very much narrative and character and emotion driven in terms of my job. So I honestly, I won't do a project if I don't think it's good. And I have turned down projects that I felt either morally wrong, felt they were morally wrong, or that they weren't strong enough. And so, you know, but Ramin's work is really strong, so I want to shoot it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, we hope we can have you back when, you know, your future endeavors kind of come to fruition. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
So we're so looking forward to seeing Eye Without a Face coming out on August 10th on all major platforms and available for pre-order on iTunes now. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.